Hello again, and welcome back to the Bits with Joe and Nick. My name is Nick with Bitewing Games.
And I'm Joe from Allplay Games.
And it has been a while since our last episode. I think it's been about 4 months.
I think people have been like messaging us, which feels kind of good for people to be like, "Are you guys still doing that?" And it's like, "Uh-huh." And they're like, "Well, how come what's taking so long?" I'm like, "Running a board game publishing company is taking so long."
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we kind of like I really had a hard time scheduling things during convention season. It
Yeah.
was absolutely insane. And you too. I mean, you trying to like schedule around everything that both of us had going on was just. I mean, again, I'm sure if we worked harder, but it just wasn't like the top priority for either of us.
Yeah.
But we are. I am excited to get back into it and have a couple of like smooth months going into things. I mean, we still have Essen and PAX Unplugged and yada yada, but
Yeah.
I am kind of excited about just being able to keep things moving forward.
Yeah, we're still going. We love doing the bits. It's just, life happens and convention season is chaos. And we're both launching our own Kickstarters next week. And yeah, Essen next month. So things are moving along.
Yeah, we both have Kickstarters next week. Do you want to tell everybody what you're launching and why you're excited about it? And then I'll tell everyone what we're launching, why we're excited about it, and then we can kind of jump into the meat and potatoes of the episode because they'll kind of swing in pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the time of this recording, our Kickstarter's launch next week, but by the time this is actually posted, it's likely that the Kickstarters will already be running. But yeah,
go back both of them right now.
Let's go. Yeah, so these games, they're very relevant to today's topic, or at least these projects in general, because today we're wanting to talk about marketing. And so what we have ongoing on Kickstarter here in late September, we're launching our next two Mythos collection games. That's Azure and Moitura, the two games that follow Iliad and Icor. And we'll be sharing some tidbits about how we have been marketing those two particular games as well as other projects. But what do you have launching next week, Joe?
So I'm really excited because I have been working on this for 3 years. I have been working on this project, securing the rights to Container. Container is a big economic game that came out in 2007 and then was reprinted around 2019, maybe 2018. Maybe 2017. I don't know. I have to go back and look. But there has never been many copies in circulation. There's never been a production version that has like gotten into retail or been like available for like wider audiences to experience this game. And I love this game. It's one of my all-time favorite games. It's so cool. It's so unique. It's so quirky. And we got the rights to it and are going to be launching our own version of Container, which we are really pumped about. It will have 2 other smaller games that are on the Kickstarter with it. The main focus is Container, but we have an amazing 2-player abstract game called Grunts, and then we also have a party game from Peter Hayward called Triangulation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really excited for those, especially Container, because that's been on my bucket list or my wish list for years. As you said, it's been hard to obtain, and the latest version or the last version that was printed was a huge box, very expensive, and not quite the art style I would say is for my taste. So I'm excited to see what you guys do. Are you fitting it into your $40 standard box? Sweet.
Fitting it in. Yeah.
No, because I mean it's going from what was a humongous box, right? To
yeah, it was like bigger than a Ticket to Ride size box and like twice as deep. It was very, very big. And we are moving it to the standard Allplay $40 box, the same one that QE, Kabuto Sumo, River Valley Glassworks are all in. So yeah, we are excited. It will fit. Don't worry, it's going to fit very well, very easily. We're not going to have to worry about that. But we are very, very excited about Container and bringing it back to the market at a very affordable price point.
Yeah, it looks really good. I'm seeing a lot of buzz for that game. A lot of people, I think, like me, have had it on their wish list. So looking forward to that. But yeah, let's get into. You guys only revealed Container in this project just a few short weeks ago, and you managed to get Container specifically to the top of the BGG hotness list. And I feel like that's a good starting point for our marketing a board game discussion. What are some tricks or tactics for revealing a new game and helping to generate excitement and engagement?
Yeah, so revealing a new game is a tricky business, right? And I will say that there is no like standard practice that's like this is the absolute best way to do it. And also, I would also not consider Allplay to be the greatest company when it comes to doing this. Honestly, like it's so much better to like look at a company like. You know what? Let's call out Gavin over at Roxley Games.
Sure.
I think they do a really good job because they only do so many games a year. So any time that or Keymaster also does a really good job because any time that they reveal something, they have such limited releases that so much of their effort as a company is spent in building up to a giant release like a Brass Pittsburgh, right? Which has also been just like extremely well received and everything like that. So these things are a little bit of science, a little bit of magic, and also a lot of luck.
Yeah. Sure.
Like I wish I could be like, oh, if you want to be number one on the hotness list, you need to do this, this, and this. I like honestly, like Container got to number one on the hotness list for like 3 days. It was sitting at number one for 3 entire days this last week. A whole lot of that is people just excited about Container, right? If Bitewing was releasing Container, it would have been number one on the hotness list, right?
Sure.
If any company would have been re-releasing Container, would have been probably number one on the hotness list, or at least gotten very high on the hotness list, right?
Yeah.
So that had a lot to do with it. Same thing, like Sail Legacy got to the top of the BGG hotness list and stayed there for almost a week because people were excited about learning about Sail Legacy. So as far as like best practices go, let's see. Number one, make sure you have a BGG entry like ready to go.
Yeah.
Do not reveal a new game or start talking about a new game unless you have the information. And I would say the cover image on BGG. Like you want people to be able to go somewhere to discuss the game, right? If you start talking about a game and all you've done is just in an email had like an image floating around, like people don't have any way to like get excited or interact with it. And I think that goes secondarily, which is like, you're like, we only revealed it a few short weeks ago. I don't know how much I can dive deep into things, but it's fine because this is about what it's like to be a board game publisher. We were not originally going to release Container, Grunts, and Triangulation in this Kickstarter. That Kickstarter was actually scheduled for next year.
Oh, wow.
We had 2 games that were going to be on Kickstarter that, and again, we did not like rush anything, but like this is the way it worked, is we did not like those 2 games, the closer we got to the deadline, they were just not in good enough shape, and we have a lot riding on those games. So we wanted to give them more time in development and more time for artwork to come in before we threw them on Kickstarter, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so in about the 7 to 8 weeks leading up to that Kickstarter launch, this one that we have coming up, we decided to kind of pull a switcheroo, and we were like, these games are ready and these games aren't. We can kind of just move them like this and pull these ones back and move these ones up. I don't know if you've ever had to do this, Nick.
Not yet, but we do it probably further out where we swap things, but not this close like you guys have done. So
yeah, so we kind of made this decision to kind of swap in. We're like, we have art for these games. The development on these games is done. Like there's some things that we were like not planning on having ready for these games as soon as they were, but there's no way that we're feeling confident about these 2 games on Kickstarter. So we pulled them back, put these other ones in, and had things ready. So like a little bit of like when we revealed things and how we revealed things has a lot to do with the fact that like we were making a kind of what I would call a last minute decision, because like 7 weeks before a Kickstarter is, I think you still have the timing to do that, but like it's a lot closer, right?
Yeah,
it's not it's not 0 hour, but it's like, ooh, we're all gonna have to put in a lot of extra work to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
But that's like one of the things is like you want to make sure you have a Kickstarter launch page and you want to make sure that you have a BGG page. I would say those are two best practices for revealing a new game, because you want there to be a call to action. If you put out an email I'm going to put this right over to you, Nick, because I know I've been talking for like a long time, so that you can add in. But if you send out an email and your email is, hey, we're announcing a new game, that email is in and out of people's ears. Yeah. They have no call to action. They have nothing to do. They have no way to interact with that. They're, like, you can't respond to an email, cool game, guys, thanks, right? It's an email that goes out to like tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
So what you need to at least do as far as best practices go is you need to have a call to action, which should be follow our pre-launch page. And also, here's a link to the BGG where if you want more information, we'll be posting things and you can join the discussion about the game. Those are two of the things I would say. Do not even think about announcing a new game before those two things at a minimum.
Yeah, that makes me think, as far as getting on the BGG hotness, like that's the nice thing about, ending up on the hotness is it attracts more attention. It attracts more awareness of your game. Because there are people media people who talk about what's on the hotness. There are just, regular visitors and hobbyists who peruse that from time to time. And if they stumble across something they're not familiar with, then that might be a potential customer in the future, right? But I found that there's no silver bullet, formula that's going to get you guaranteed onto the hotness list. Like, we've been doing the same formula for revealing our games pretty much since the reveal of Zoo Vadis. The reason for that is because when we revealed Zoo Vadis, I think it was during Essen or Gen Con. It was one of those two conventions when there were a lot of news coming out of those conventions. We weren't at those conventions at all, but we just revealed Zoo Vadis, and then we posted on Board Game Geek about it and a lot of information, and immediately got the box cover image like you mentioned, and it launched up to the top of the hotness list, and it stayed there for several days. And so we've continued to do that for all of our new projects that we reveal, and even when we have sometimes a big name designer or a big artist on the game that we reveal, it doesn't always end up on the hotness list. And then other times it does. So I think you're right. There is a lot of luck involved as far as getting on there. But like you said, you want your reveal to be actionable. In my mind, and you can look at your own experience and probably agree at least to some extent, that when a game is first revealed, that's when I'm most excited about it. Like when Allplay announced, like, hey, new container, and I see this really cool looking box art and a really interesting style, and it's like, oh shoot, I've been wanting to play this game for years, I forgot about it, or this is from an artist or a designer that I love. It's in that moment that most people, I think, feel compelled to act on that excitement. And so, like you said, give them a Kickstarter link. Have your pre-launch page ready to go so people can follow the Kickstarter. Or at the very least, if you don't have a crowdfunding page ready, maybe have like, hey, subscribe to this newsletter so you can follow along for people who are not your subscribers. But again, like you said, if you send out an email to your subscribers and they can't act on it, then you're missing out on that opportunity, because people's excitement is only going to gradually go down over time.
First email, you're going to have more interactions on that first email. And you'll know this too, Nick. Like, that first email you announce a game, and then launch day email. Like, those are your two biggest opportunities, because every other time you say something about the thing that is not those two direct call to actions, you are literally just like repeating yourself over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So those are the two most important things that you can like focus on. So making sure that first email when you announce a new game is super important. Other things that I guess we can I would like to say is Nick does a much better job of this than I do. A much better job. In fact, I stole this idea from Nick because, like, I saw Nick doing this and I was like, that's so smart. Why don't we do that? So I got my team together and was like, hey, we need to start doing more of what Bitewing's doing. So one of the things that Nick does that I'm going to brag on him for a little bit is Nick has this very good way of before they do the big announcement of a game, they have the BGG page ready and they make this BGG post that basically is hey, here's all the questions I think you're going to ask me and here's my response to them. And sometimes that creates a lot of engagement because a lot of people, sometimes rightly so, because you bring a lot of older games back into print, have a place to voice their angry concerns or
their
say things. But like
sometimes you get both, right? Both reactions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking about the one that just like made me laugh so much. When you guys did the Ego, I think Ego specifically was the one that people were like, "Oh my goodness, this is like."
I discovered
some of the comments on.
Oh man, the reveal of that game, I discovered there are people who just hate space games, and I'm like, that's a really big blanket hatred. Like, I hate space games. It's like, what does that mean? That could mean so many things. It was funny though.
Just like if it is not on like I guess you could set it on like an alien planet. Is that a space game? Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's just what is a space genre?
Game?
Yeah. Because, like, is Twilight Imperium the same as Merchants of Andromeda? Is the same as Silos? Like, none of those have the same theming at all, right? They're completely unique themes, even though they're all outer space-ish. Yeah. Twinkle Twinkle, right? Like, is that a space game? Like, what are we saying about ourselves when we say, like, I don't like space games?
People are funny.
Whatever.
Yeah, people are funny.
People are funny. They're like, oh boy, another generic space game. And it's like... This is like literally like a game about you being an envoy to another celestial civilization. Like this is like not a theme that has been repeated.
Yeah, and it's like
in any board game.
You're intentionally offending aliens, and then other times you're trying not to, and you accidentally do it anyways. Like there's so much personality to that beyond just like, oh, this is another generic sci-fi game. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. People have the knee-jerk reactions, right? And you see the best and worst of that on online.
Yeah.
So.
But basically, I would say that like Nick does a really good job of like having a BGG post ready. That's like, hey, instead of coming in here angry and storming in with all of your, it's like here's something for you to like read and process that hopefully answers a whole lot of your questions, and also not even just like. But just like to create the conversation and stuff like that. And that's just been something that I've seen Nick do over at Bitewing that I think is like really tremendous. And I think a lot of board game publishers could take a note from, myself included. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the shout out. I mean, to be fair, I think I've taken a lot of inspiration from Stonemaier Games, who is also very good at marketing. They do it a little bit of a different approach where they don't use crowdfunding anymore. And, but I like their style. I think it helps that they already have a huge audience that is very loyal to them. So it doesn't work for every publisher, their strategy. But they also will reveal a game, and then within a week, it's actionable. They tease out more info over the coming days, and then usually within a week or so, you can pre-order that game, and then it's shipping, a month or two later. But they still follow that same principle of making it actionable and engaging people with a slow rollout of information over a short period of time. And that's kind of where I took inspiration for that. And I knew when we revealed Zuvadis, we were taking this. I mean, it's not like a stone cold like Tigris and Euphrates classic that everybody loves, or Ra, or something like that, or El Grande. It's not one that a lot of people were clamoring for a new version, but I knew there was a cult following. I knew there was a fan base who would probably be upset, just knee-jerk, seeing like, hey, they took my Roman-themed game and they made it anthropomorphic animals, right? You get that reaction with any anthropomorphized game. So I knew there would be some blowback, but I also knew it was an opportunity for me to kind of communicate why we were doing what we were doing, and why people might be excited about it, and why I'm excited about it. So I kind of, before letting somebody else post these assumptions like, oh, Bitewing's spoiling this really cool, old relic, I'm coming in with, hey, I'm really passionate about this particular design. I'm passionate and I'm enthusiastic about like what we've done to change it, and here's why it's been changed and all that. And I think people were much more understanding because they got that info before they could draw their own assumptions, and then they could engage with that, and we could have kind of a conversation instead of it being a faceless company spoiling their favorite, classic game or whatever.
And that's a huge thing too, because like, man, people get so bent out of shape about like people just like want you to make the thing the way they want to make it, right?
Yeah.
Which is a hard thing because everybody's going to have a different opinion, right?
Yeah.
You cannot get a crowdsource of board games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had an equally tough time trying to figure out the art direction for Container.
Mm.
Because I think like some people want that like very stoic beigey Euro game feel, which it has had for the last two editions. Very just like generic industrial like feel to the game. And I was like, I just don't want to do that with this game because this game is quirky and weird and silly a little bit. Like it really is kind of a silly game. And so I wanted that to like not necessarily be like, oh, I just want to make this like dumb, but I want to like invoke that silliness. And so I found this like artist who like most of the work that he does is like industrial isometric design, which when you're looking down at a board that's supposed to look like a busy port harbor and you're looking down at these like boards that are islands, you have that isometric feeling, right, of the game. It looks nice. It has that industrial feel, but there's also just this like thing of silliness. Like one of his pieces of art that I love the most, and I referenced a lot, is he had this like one isometric illustration. And now we're getting into art, but I'm on a tangent. But he has this one piece of art that's like this isometric inside of a building where people are like working, but it's Area 51. And there's like all these people like working on spaceships and like doing these things and moving paperwork around and sitting at computers. And it's this really cool like isometric thing of like all this work going on. But then there's like an alien with a blaster and the guy has his hands up in like one of the areas. And it kind of has this almost like Where's Waldo of like, oh, look at that. Isn't that weird? Like, and so that's what I wanted to come across is like, I wanted to be like, oh, this very isometric industrial thing. But also, like when you look at it, you're like, oh, look at these silly little things that are in the artwork, and that's kind of what I wanted.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way to engage people and get them talking as well. Like if you have little Easter eggs or little, I don't know, just making the artwork or revealing early artwork and letting people talk about that, right? I think that can be very helpful.
Man, this something else I've seen people do that I really like. Have you seen people do this like? Where there's like their call to action is like, can you like there's almost like something to like win or solve, right? By like, go to this page and find these like the answers to these 5 questions and be entered for a chance to like win a free copy of the game. I've seen some companies do that. I've never done that. I have no idea if it works or not, but I have seen that as like a way that people reveal their games.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've talked a lot about like marketing a game that has already existed, kind of a new version, but an entirely new game is a different beast, right? People don't have anything to go off of when you reveal a new game, and they have no concept of what the game's about and how it feels to play, and so that kind of limits, I guess, how you can get people excited about a brand new game. As one example, though, what we've tried to do with our upcoming Azure and Moitura, these are 2 games that are entirely new from the designers, never been published before. We like to obviously reveal the art straight away. It helps if you invest heavily in art and have really good art because that'll get people excited straight off the bat. But we've tried to lean into what people like connections that people already or things that people are already fans of. So, for example, these 2 games are designed by Trevor Benjamin, both are, and then David Thompson co-designed Moitura with Trevor, and Brett Gilbert co-designed Azure with Trevor. And these are very good 2-player designers who have a lot of fans. You go and look at Board Game Geek and Undaunted, that whole series is rated very highly. It's gotten very good critical acclaim. Same with Trevor and Brett's, Patterns and Mandala and Great Plains, those games. And so these are existing designers with a lot of fans. And so my job when I'm releasing a new game from them is to reach those fans, to connect with them and make them aware of the next game from the designers that they love. Or maybe they don't even know it's the same designers, but it's my job to market that and communicate that to people. So when we revealed Azure and Moitura, we actually took advantage of the timing of Dice Tower's their big news extravaganza, their game reveal extravaganza that happens every summer, the Summer Spectacular, where we ended up revealing this project a little bit earlier than we normally would. It's been, I think, 2 or 3 months since we revealed them, but we figured, hey, there's a lot of people who watch this Dice Tower reveal, and we have enough artwork that we can kind of prepare a video and prepare a nice reveal for these particular games and have our pre-launch page ready. The nice thing about Kickstarter, and it's probably true for every crowdfunding site, is you don't have to have your whole page made. You don't have to have all your components or your artwork ready to go. You just need to have a nice looking banner as the picture, and then you can create the pre-launch page before any of the other page is done. So our video reveal, you can find it on our Bitewing Games YouTube channel for these two games. The way we did it is like, hey, this is the next two games coming after Iliad and Iker, which also have a lot of fans. And it's from the designers of all these amazing games that are critically acclaimed. Here they are, and we showed just pictures in the title of them. And then we had a link in that video of like, hey, now follow the Kickstarter. So basically, I think making connections to what people are already fans of, or what they can be excited about. You can do the same thing with mechanisms. There are a lot of fans of bag building, right? And if you can market that initially for a brand new game and get people excited, oh, hey, it's a bag building game mixed with this thing, then I think it's a lot easier to market a brand new game when you establish kind of a common ground with people, with your audience.
Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to marketing a game, there's a lot of it relies on you having built an existing audience, right? Like if you're the first so let me put it this way. If you have an idea for a game and you hire an artist to make art for your game and you design a game and you make a Kickstarter page and then you just press launch on your Kickstarter page, you will not do well. Yeah. You absolutely will not do well. Like I am saying, like one, like in a million people that try it that method are going to do well, right? Because like someone's gonna be like, well, what about this game, right? But like I'm saying, like that is the exception, and I'm talking about the rare exception, not the rule. And I don't care how good the game looks, I don't care how good the game plays. If you do not market, you are not going to get the attention of the fan base when it comes to crowdfunding, right? Like one of the things that Allplay has and Bitewing also has is we have the benefit of when we reveal a new game that we have an existing fan base, right? Both of our companies have been around long enough that there are people that like our games, right? Yeah. There are people that have backed our previous crowdfunding campaigns for similar products. Like when we did the Kickstarter for Sale Legacy, we put in an email or we put a Kickstarter update into the sale Kickstarter that had almost 8,000 backers that said, hey, a lot of you bought Sale. Check this out. It's a thing that you like already done differently, right? And that's one of the big things that we focus on is we really want people to be excited about the games that we're coming out with because they're fans of Allplay. Now, what do you do if you what do you do if you're trying to market a game and you don't have 10 years of being a board game company under your belt, right? What's your move, right?
It's a challenge.
It's a huge challenge. Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, for us, when Bitewing Games started, we looked at, hey, we have a couple designs we could publish, but we have no fans. Nobody trusts who we are as a publisher because we have no basis for them to trust us on. We're just a couple random dentists trying to make a product, and maybe we have no clue what we're doing, and it's very obvious to people that that's the case, or at least they worry that that's the case, right? So what we had to do was borrow the credibility and the fan base and the just the clout of somebody who already has fans. That's why we went to Reiner Knizia to begin with, and we started by publishing his games. Because people don't know who we are, but if our games look good enough, production-wise, art-wise, things are organized on the page, it's not sloppy, and you have good information about the schedule and everything, and it looks trustworthy. But then we combine that with Reiner Knizia, somebody that people trust to make a solid game, then it's much easier for us to get the ball rolling. I think for brand new publishers, especially if you have your own design and you have no artist or designer that already has an existing fan base, you need a lot more time, an earlier reveal essentially of the game, and you need to do a lot of grassroots marketing where you're taking the game to conventions, you're demoing it to people, you're getting people talking and buzzing about it, and slowly building
signing up for your email newsletter.
Yeah. That's the big one. Yeah.
If you're a board game publisher or an aspiring board game publisher and you're listening to this, I'm going to tell you right now, the number one marketing tool you will ever have, and I mean ever have, is your email marketing list. Your email marketing list is everything. And guess what? If you don't know how all of that stuff works, download a bunch of podcasts on how to build an email marketing list from like marketing companies, not board game companies, marketing companies. And like learn how an email marketing list works. Learn how things like Drip. We use Drip for our email marketing campaigns, right? Like learn how these different types of programs can help you, because that's going to be your life's blood forever. The people that sign up to your email newsletter are the people that you are going to be advertising to first and foremost for the entirety of your company.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean your best future customers are your existing and past customers, right? Those are the ones who are going to keep coming back, and it's much harder to gain new customers and new fans. That makes me think of something that I'll try to share my screen here. I do have a photo. So after our first Kickstarter campaign, our next one was Trailblazers, and we were trying to build, like exactly like you said, we were trying to build our email list. So yeah, we showed up to Origins. We got a booth. You know, Origins isn't crazy expensive booth wise. They have space, and they have a decent sized audience for a U.S. convention. So this was actually probably the perfect place for us to be. And this was actually the designer's idea, Ryan Courtney. So all credit to him. But we made this sticker wall where people could, and it worked particularly well for this game because it's a puzzly route building game, where people could basically choose a sticker from a sheet and add it to the wall and continue building these huge networks and trails. Now, that was really fun to engage people, right, in a unique way in a convention setting, and people were able to demo the game itself. But the big thing was, we had a QR code here, and we had a promotion here where it was like, hey, add a sticker, place your bet on how long you think the longest loop will be, scan this QR code, and enter your bet and your email address, and then the winner or multiple winners will get a free copy of the game. So this was a good way for us as a very small publisher at the time to gather. We gathered a few hundred emails, and actually this ended up being one of our biggest Kickstarter projects that we've ever run, and it was only our second one ever. So it turned out to be very effective. Honestly, we should be doing this more because it was such a big success as far as the success of the Kickstarter project and gaining emails. But marketing gimmicks like this are really good for building your email list.
Yeah. I love a good marketing gimmick. I think we've said before on this podcast that like gimmick comes off as a bad, like a dirty word, but like gimmicks are great. Gimmicks are everything. I love a gimmick. Now here is another thing, right? I think we should spend a little bit of time and talk about paying for paid previews. This is something that is really big, right?
Yeah.
Paying for paid previews. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Paid previews. I don't like them. But I have a marketing team. Okay, that is something that not every board game publisher has, but I have a marketing team, and we pay for paid previews, and we pay for people that like our stuff, the do Allplay. And my thing is like, I'd rather them just talk about the game because they actually like it. I don't want to pay someone to talk about the game because they like it. But the way that they described it to me, right? Because we have a pretty hard stance on like, we don't do paid reviews. Like we do not, like the Kickstarter preview is a different thing than a review. And I do not pay people for reviews, right? Yeah. That's like a pretty hard stance that Allplay takes. Is like, we do not give people money to review our game, full stop. Right? Yeah. Doing a playthrough, doing a how to teach, those are all different things. But I do not do paid reviews, just plain and simple. Now, what does that mean as far as the paid previews go, right? The way my marketing team explained this to me is every channel that talks about our game is just a sign. We're just paying for a banner, a sign. And that's just a sign where people are going to see our thing and go, oh, am I interested in that, right? Now, it's two people sitting down talking about a game that you've made, but it's just a sign. Just think of it as a sign. Think of it as a banner, right? Because that banner is going to direct people to the thing that we're talking about, right? And there is a certain amount of money that like I will pay for like banners on websites and banner like BGG. If you're paying for ads on BGG, you're just buying banners, right? You're just buying banners on the website that show up in different places. All of it's totally normal and fine. But a paid preview is literally just that. It's just a sign that points people to your game. The number one thing that you can do is look for people that A, are fans of your previous content, right? Or your game in general. You do not want to work with people that are like, oh yeah, just give me money, I'll talk about your game. You want to work with people that actually want to talk about your game.
Yeah.
So you get to know these people, build a relationship, right? That's number one for me.
Yeah, and they're more
Number
genuine
two,
in the content that they provide, right? It comes through better.
yeah, absolutely. The other thing is you're looking for people that it's not always about how big their fan base is. It's about how much interaction they actually get, right? I would so much rather pay somebody who has 2,000 Instagram followers, but all of their posts get like 100 comments, rather than somebody who like has 10,000 Instagram followers, but every post is like 2 or 3 likes.
Yeah.
Because interactions matter way more than just viewership count. So that's something that's really important to look at. What are your thoughts on just like paying people to talk about your game?
Yeah, we, coming from a smaller budget, newer publisher perspective, we haven't really leaned too hard into doing paid previews, because there are previewers out there that exist that don't charge for their previews, for one thing. So when you're on a low budget, a low marketing budget project, you got to look for, I guess, the most cost-effective ways to spend whatever little marketing money you have, right? And in my mind, if there are solid Instagrammers out there who charge to cover your game, and there are solid Instagrammers out there who don't charge to cover your game, these guys are going to win, 9 out of 10 times for us, unless I see like a really significant difference, like you said, in the engagement or in the audience or that kind of thing. And so we usually try to, and you can see this across all our Kickstarter campaigns, we use a lot of the same previewers, because they usually don't charge for covering our games, and that saves us a lot of money. The other hard thing that I have with paid previews is you don't get to see the ROI directly. It's more of like you said, it's a sign, which it doesn't have no, there's value to that. It's like what they say generally in marketing, like people need to have an interaction with your product like 7 times or be exposed to your product 7 times before they'll make the commitment. And so that, being exposed to your game in different channels and in different ways over a period of time can really help. But from what I've seen and from what our general philosophy has been, when we're paying somebody to cover our game, it's usually going to be like a very high quality how to play, like with before you play, which we can see directly, hey, this is very helpful. It's going to have a long-term tail. That's the other thing, is when you pay somebody to do like a TikTok reel or an Instagram reel, that thing, like sometimes those are just gone in an instant, that's just the snowball of social media, the churn, right? It's like one thing is posted and then it's buried in 10 more posts the next week. And so, I think if you have the marketing budget, it helps to have variety, and it helps to pay and be very selective about who you pay to preview your games. And I think you have a very good philosophy for who you select for that. But for us, we probably invest the most in a how to play video and in paid advertisements, where we can actually see the direct, like Facebook ads and Instagram ads, where we can see the direct conversion rate of a particular advertisement. So.
Who is your favorite person to work with when it comes to like getting content made for your games?
Yeah, I mean, so Before You Play, I think they're one of the few people, like I mentioned, that we pay because they do such a high quality playthrough. And I would say somebody that does pretty much an equally good job and has probably a bigger audience, or maybe a slightly different audience at the very least, is the Dice Tower. I know you use them a lot for the live playthroughs of games. I think those are fantastic because we add that to a playlist on our own YouTube channel under that game's particular playlist, and people can go back and watch that weeks, months, or years later to see how the game plays, enjoy that playthrough, and be sold on it that far down the road. And these videos usually get several thousand views, so you get a lot of good content and engagement, and they're just such high quality. Both of these channels do such a good job, like showcasing the game, teaching it, and showing what's fun about it, and explaining why they're making their decisions. So I love those two content creators. But I would also say for previewers, one that I really like and we usually use is Dan Thoreau, Space Biff. He does written posts about games, and we've seen time after time when he really loves a game of ours, he has a following that directly, like, they'll trust his word, or they have similar taste to him, and they'll go and back the game right away. And so there are people like that who, when they vouch for a game, or when they say, hey, I love these things about a game, like it makes a discernible impact. And those are usually the ones we like to keep going back to, or just ones who have similar tastes to us, because odds are they're going to like our game, and then that enthusiasm will show through. How about you? What are your favorite content creators?
My favorite content creators, I like doing the live play with the Dice Tower. That really is my favorite one. I think the engagement is really good. I think because they do it live, you have that like live audience tuning in. We usually try to time that with like the launch of our Kickstarter, so that we're doing that during the Kickstarter launch. Like when we press go, it's like 5 minutes before the Dice Tower video goes live and people are playing it. So people can like watch it, make a decision, go back it, or back it and then come in, tune in, and like watch the game being played. So like I like having that as like a thing that we do. And they're one of the few channels I think that do like live in-person playthroughs of like Kickstarter launches, which I really do enjoy. I also just like going down there and like playing the games with them.
Yeah,
so that's fun. Like there's a good engagement, and that video gets to exist for a while afterwards, which is great. So that's like a huge one. I wanted to follow up with you though, Nick, and I wanted to ask you, who is your least favorite content creator? I'm just kidding. I just wanted to look at your face. You were like, oh, like,
here we go.
Like how? No. We would never do that. But I have an answer. You can ask me. You can ask me after the show.
Yeah. Not on a public recording, huh?
No. I'm just kidding.
Probably somebody who's very controversial, right? Or
no, those are my favorite. No, all publicity is good publicity, Nick.
there you go.
All right, so we've kind of gone through like a lot of the ideas and things that we talk about as far as like launching a game, marketing a game. We should probably also talk. A lot of this has been focused on like taking a game to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people that have launched games on Kickstarter or GameFound backer kits. It's all interchangeable information, right? But I think some of the things that we should hit are we should spend just a little bit of time talking about running ads. Yeah. And then we should probably also talk about what it's like launching a product that doesn't go to Kickstarter, which is, if there's publishers out here that are like, I've done Kickstarter for all of my games, but I'm thinking about doing one that isn't Kickstarter, that is that's a tough one. That's a really tough nut.
Yeah, so paid ads, there are a few companies, especially for startup publishers, that I think are good options worth looking into, because they've helped us draw in more backers or build our email list, that kind of thing. We've used BackerKit in the past. We've used Gelop. We've used is it Crowdfunding Nerds? I can't remember their name, but Andrew Lowen, I think, is the owner of that. So there are good companies like that can help newer publishers get into it. And the nice thing is, some of those companies, maybe you don't have a huge budget, but some of them, they will charge based on how much they bring in, and they'll charge after the fact. After you get your Kickstarter funds, that's when you just cut off some of that pie and send it to the marketer and be like, hey, thank you for bringing these people in. So you don't have to pay those costs up front. But if it's nice in your case to have a marketing person, or actually we use Kyle now. Kyle is he's taken over the marketing for this next project, and we'll see how it goes.
I know Kyle messaged my marketing guy and was like, hey, can you like hop on a call and help me with some stuff this week? And so I know that they've like been touching base and like talking to each other. So that's good. I'm glad that we can do that. So I think like I'd like to break down a little bit because like I know that there are a lot of people thinking about like launching their first game or like they're pretty new. So like what does paid ads look like? Okay. The what it all boils down to is this term called ROAS, right? ROAS, right?
Yeah.
Return on ad spend. So spending and again, there's Google, BGG, different things, but mostly you're working within Meta. Like Meta is the Facebook community, Instagram, all of that stuff.
Right.
Meta is really what you're using. Everything else at this point has kind of been there's good and bad, but like Meta is the advertising like platform that you're most likely going to be using, and that's the one that all of these companies like BackerKit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are going to utilize. Right?
Yep.
Is Meta. Return on ad spend. It costs money to put an ad on Meta, right? And basically that ad is going to just be put on Meta and they're going to show it to customers that like similar types of things, right? It's called a mirrored audience, right? So the whole reason that you want to work with these agencies is that they know how to create what's called a mirrored audience of like people that have backed things like your thing in the past on Kickstarter are going to see your ad. And the more money you spend, the more times you're basically saying my ad's going to pop up in front of people. Now, when you get a return on ad spend, there is a way to be able to measure when people click on it and when they make a purchasing decision on the thing that they clicked on, right? And that basically calculates a certain amount of money. Right? So when you're talking about your return on ad spend, you're saying, this is how much money I'm spending to run my ad, and this is how much money my ad is making me, right? Usually you're trying to aim for as high a multiple as you can, though there is a science to like being like, oh, I'm getting a 16 times return on my ad spend. You probably need to be turning up the spend to make that 16x go back down because there's this whole thing about leaving money on the table, right? Like if your ROAS is too high, then you should be spending more to generate more people, right?
Yeah.
The sweet spot that I know I like to be on is like a 3.5 to 4x scale where whatever I'm like, if I spend $5 on an ad, I'm getting somebody $20 from somebody back in my pocket, right? And that's kind of the general vibe of how ROAS works, right?
Yeah.
Now, something to keep in mind, a company like BackerKit, and I think pretty much all of the other marketing companies out there are going to charge you the ad spend, but they're also going to charge you the
percentage
they're also
of
going
what
to
they bring in, right?
Yeah. Which is generally 15%, I think. Like generally they're going to say you owe us 15% of everything we make for you, and you're paying for the ads. So at the end of the thing, let's say that they run $8,000 worth of ads and they bring in, $25,000 worth of, or I guess to make it a little bit easier, $30,000 worth of, money. You're going to owe them $8,000 plus 15% of that $30,000 that they say that they made for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff that comes in there where it's like, did they earn this for me? Did they not? Would I have gotten this backer without them? That's where like I've always kind of had like more of an issue with it. Right now at Allplay, we run our own ads, right? So we know how to run our own ads pretty much as good. Like we've had just as good of return in ROAS as we've had with any of the agencies that we've worked with.
Yeah, that's great.
Sometimes these agencies have had massive explosive campaigns, and that's what they're always going to talk about. They're going to be like, oh, well, when we did Dice Throne, or, oh, when we did, like, I remember when I was, did my very first campaign. It was like a little side project a long time ago. It was like an RPG thing, and I was talking to the people at BackerKit. They're like, well, here's what we saw in Frosthaven. I'm like, I don't care what you saw on Frosthaven, dude. like I am making like a little tiny RPG thing, right? Like it's not what it's all about. So it's one of those things where they're always going to tell you the successes, but I would say more times than not, they're going to make you some money within the first week or so. And then ads are going to taper off, and they're going to suggest to turn them off because your ROAS has dipped too low that you're not actually profitable anymore spending ads. And then you might turn them on again for like the final 48 hours or something like that. But basically at this point, like that's how ads work. And that so I wanted to give just like a crash course for people that are listening to this and be like, how does this, like I've heard people say run ads, run ads, run ads, run ads. That's how it works.
Yeah. And we've had success doing it, probably with our earlier campaigns more than our later ones, but turning on the ad spend maybe a month or two before we actually launch the project to build our newsletter, where we collect people's emails and build the pre-launch followers and that kind of thing. And over time, I think we've grown more saturated. You know, the hard thing is like, are your ads going to the same people who are already on your newsletter list as well, right? So
Yeah.
there's some of that too, and it can be tough to manage. But generally, yeah, you got to spend money to make money, and I think as far as marketing spend, doing the meta ads is one of the most effective things you can invest in.
Yeah, so we should talk about also a little bit of how we jump into the like not bringing a game to through crowdfunding, like bringing a game directly to market, which Allplay has now done a lot. And Nick, you are doing it for your very first time.
Exactly. Yeah, we are about to deliver Gazebo and Gingham to our backers, and we are releasing alongside those releases a game that was not funded through crowdfunding, being Bombastic. So that definitely brings its own challenge, right? The nice thing about Kickstarter is it attracts people that you wouldn't otherwise reach. It's a big marketing tool to just bring in people on its own. Same for like GameFound or something like that, right? Whereas when you bring a game directly to release, it's up for pre-order, it's up for order, and you're not attracting an audience unless you're actively doing it in some way. One thing we did to kind of I guess give it an initial boost is we launched the pre-order for Bombastic the same day that we sent out the pledge manager for Gazebo and Gingham. So we're essentially taking those people who have already paid us for two very similar games and telling them a few months after they've paid for those, hey, now you can add on this cheaper, smaller, fun little $19 game. And if you pre-order right now, it's very similar tactics to what you do on crowdfunding. If you pre-order during the pre-order window, here's a free bonus, like a promo pack or something that you get alongside it. So just encouraging people, like, hey, if you support this early, if you support this now, it's going to be more convenient. You're going to save on shipping. You're going to get a promo pack with it. Trying to get previewers to cover it. I got 20 copies, early copies from our factory who air freighted the games to me for Bombastic, and then I immediately sent them out to a bunch of content creators, and we slowly have content trickling in for that with various reviews and Instagram posts and stuff, just to keep it in people's mind and spread awareness and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, you're giving up all of that upfront money and all the upfront backers and the attention and all the coverage that happens for any crowdfunding project, and you have to kind of generate that on your own. So it's a little harder to get the ball rolling, I would say, generally.
Yeah, what we've always tried to do for our direct to retail releases is a few things, right? The first thing that we always try to do is we always try to time it with a convention that we're going to be at very shortly after it arrives.
Yeah.
We always try to, like you said, because you borrowed this idea from us, is like have it available on a pledge manager. Like we're never going to produce it in isolation and then just have it ship. Like we're printing it with other games that were crowdfunded so that when those games arrive, when we launch that pledge manager, we go, this game is going to ship at the exact same time as these other games. If you have already backed these games, here's an opportunity to get this other thing that is, you're going to get it first, right? And here's like maybe a special thing. It won't cost you any extra shipping. So you kind of are able to like piggyback on the, tails of something else, right? We've been starting to call it, like when we do a Kickstarter, we're like, do we have a kicker for this? So that's like what we've been calling our direct to retail releases. Is like we're like, okay, we have this as a retail release. We have these tiny games which go along with this like Kickstarter release, and then also, do we have a kicker included in that? So like this is like when we do our print runs, we're like, the crowdfunding games, the tiny games, and the kicker, right? We're like, how do we like mix and match all of these to make sure that it's all lining up? One of the things that we do, which is a difficult thing, again, like I don't know how actionable this advice is. I have always tried very, very hard to get a large pre-order number from a mass market retailer before I bring a direct to retail product to market. It's not easy. Those relationships are difficult. And if they don't like a product, then it's like one of those things. In fact, Fiction was our very first retail release, right? And that was one that we really wanted to like do, and we made it. We were able to make a deal with Barnes and Noble to pick up several thousand copies of that, which kind of basically, we didn't get that money up front. We didn't get that money until we actually gave them the games, but that helped soften the fact that like we weren't going to have a crowdfunding release for this game. We're like, oh, like somebody wants to buy 3,000 copies of this game, right? That's really good.
It's great.
Now, something that I actually have right here is we have done a new edition of Fiction called Fiction Banned Books, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a banned books edition where all of the books are books that were previously banned in the United States of America. And also there are some new mechanics in this one. So there's new powers that the librarians and the guessers can use as an optional variant. So it's not the exact same content with different words. It's literally a new version of the game that you can play and is fully compatible with the old version. So Fiction Banned Books. Now, we've had this game ready for a while. But the reason we haven't brought it to market yet is because we actually had Barnes and Noble. They got very full and they had not enough slots, and they were pulling back because of certain price constrictions and stuff. And they actually were like, we can't actually look at Fiction Banned Books right now. So we just kind of sat on it for a year. So I finally went back to them. I was like, hey guys, I need to do something with this game. I've paid for the art. I've gotten everything done. You kind of like, do you want it? And they were like, I think this would be a good product for like late 2026. And I was like, that's fine, but that's a little late for me to just keep sitting on this game because I'd like to get it released sooner than that. So I actually went to Books A Million and showed the game to them, and they said, oh, that's really cool. We'll pick it up. They didn't pick it up in quite as high of a quantity as Barnes & Noble did, but they still gave us a high enough pre-order that it very easily allowed for us to be able to put that together for consumers. So we are... fiction. So that's one of the things that we've done in the past is like try to get a larger retail partner to put in a large pre-order for the game itself.
Yeah. And you mentioned timing it with a convention. I think that's huge as well. Because you don't have Kickstarter to put this game in front of a lot of eyeballs, it's like how do you get this game in front of a lot of eyeballs, right? And so making it a core part of your next convention booth, which is hopefully very soon after you receive the game, I think can do a lot for a particular game. Especially usually if you're releasing a game direct to retail instead of to crowdfunding, it's usually a smaller, less flashy game, right? It's one that's, if a game has minis or if it has exciting components or exciting mechanisms or, easy to generate hype, that's probably one you want to launch on crowdfunding, right?
So like Alibis, right, is a party game. Right?
Yeah.
It's a party game. It's not super flashy. It's fun. It's great. It's not great for crowdfunding. There's not a lot to deluxify. It's a party game. And that game we had with Ruins, Oddland, Vegas Strip, and Money. So when those games delivered, that was our kicker that in the Pledge Manager, we're like, hey, we also made this other game. Are you interested? It's from the same designers, or it's in the same, party game world as Things and Rings. Are you excited about it? And then also we had that game release and debut at Origins, and it sold incredibly well at Origins because Origins is a convention that doesn't have a lot of new releases at it. And so we showed up to Origins with like, hey, look at this brand new thing that you have the opportunity to get first. And like, it might not have cut through the noise of Gen Con. So
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And these are games that demo well, right? If they demo well, then you can get a lot more mileage, I think, and a lot more momentum out of showing it off at conventions versus just throwing it on crowdfunding and hoping that people understand what's great about it. So, direct to retail, it's a different beast, but a fun challenge that we've been dealing with. So
don't recommend until you've gotten quite a few projects under your belt, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's tough. I think it's thrown you for a few loops, huh, Nick? I know put a lot of stress on you.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to. I mean, we don't quite have the connections like you do with like Books A Million and Barnes and Noble. We're trying to get there, right? So we don't have that cushion of like a baseline order from them at this point. But no, I think it's been good because we started with a $19 game, which does not cost very much for us to produce a few thousand copies of. So it's kind of low risk, right? If you're gonna do direct to retail for a bigger, more expensive game, that's where things can get really, really scary really quickly. So,
Absolutely. I think that pretty much sums it up. Is there any other thoughts that you have when it comes to just like getting your board game marketed?
yeah, I mean, I guess one last question is like, do you have any tips or strategies for how you market a game after release, right? We're talking in the weeks, the months, and even the years after a game has come out. How do you keep those sales going? How do you keep finding new fans and keeping the I don't know the engagement going beyond the initial hype window of the crowdfunding and then the fulfillment or release?
Good question. So, if you have a game that is selling well, how do you continue the marketing efforts for that game? First thing is, I always try to get early copies from the factory to send out to reviewers ahead of the game shipping out to backers, because then people kind of get that resurgence of like talk about the game right as everyone also is delivering it and the game's available to purchase, right? So that's like a big thing that I try to do.
Yep.
Another thing that I try to do is we, for some of our evergreen products, run what we call evergreen ads. And those are ads that are not advertising. They're advertising a specific game, and it's a game that's not going to crowdfunding. So we're not trying to collect emails or get people on pre-launch followers. It's a click to purchase ad, and those have had varying degrees of success and not success. It really depends on the game, but we do a lot of experimentation with those. They're not easy. They're very expensive, and you lose a lot of your money when you run them. But it's one of those things that if you can figure it out and get it done right, that's something that will consistently bring in money. If you have your game on Amazon, I highly recommend signing up for like things like the Vine program, where you can get good reviews, 5-star ratings and stuff like that by sending out free copies to people. I will do what I call blasts, right? Where I will be like, oh, like this game came out and it's been selling, but I feel like maybe it's dipped a little bit. Can we get like 10 copies sent out to a bunch of reviewers, and we have a big media list, and we're like, just kind of get the conversation flowing again, people talking about it, a bit of chatter about out there in the games, those types of things. But honestly, the market's going to dictate if your game continues to sell for a long time. Yeah. I tell people this all the time. You cannot make a game that does not sell well. You can't. You cannot just like make things turn, because the market decides. Yeah. And I have had games that I was like, this game is going to do incredibly well. And it does fine. Yeah. It does okay. Right? I have some games that like I have a very good barometer for how it's going to do. I'm like, this is going to do okay, and it does okay. Yeah. I have some games I'm like, this is going to do great, and it does do great. I have other games where I'm like, this is going to do amazing, and I'm like, honestly, I'm a little disappointed. And it still might perform better than a lot of other games I have, but I'm disappointed because I'm like, I thought this was really special, but the market decided it wasn't. The worst thing you can have is a game that you think is going to do amazing and it just flops, just dead on arrival. Those are the worst, you know? If you've been around this industry a long time, we can talk about the sea falls of that litter the path of like companies that thought there was something big and just discount bins immediately. The founders of Gloomhavens that have that sit on the side of the road, dead and buried. But like those are things like sometimes the market just decides that your game isn't going to be for them. I think Seafall is probably one of the best examples, and I'm good friends with Cody over at Plaid Hat Games, so I'm not like talking about something and so long ago that I doubt that he's like, oh, don't talk about that. But like there's a lot of hype. It was going to be the very first legacy game that was not tied to a property that already existed, its own world, right?
Okay, original, yeah.
Pirate, themed, really like evocative. Plaid Hat was at the top of their game, man. Yeah. Dead of Winter, Spectre Ops, they were Mice and Mystics. They were nailing it.
And this was coming behind Pandemic Legacy and stuff, right? This was
this was Babe Ruth stepping up to the plate, and everybody was just ready for this to just.
Yeah.
That game, and I don't know what the problem was, but they got like 50 early copies of this game at Gen Con and gave them out to reviewers. And all the reviewers took the game home from Gen Con, and all of them were like, this game's terrible. I hate this game. This is no fun. And so the game arrived, and they had not had a Kickstarter for it, right? Because Plaid Hat famously did not do Kickstarter. That game came out, and everybody was like, pass. I have no idea how that affected the company, but all I know is that game within a month was like $30 on Miniature Market. It was not great.
Yeah.
So like the market decides, man. The market decides. Do everything you want, try everything you want. The market's going to tell you if they want your game or not.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
Yeah. And sometimes you just get lucky, like when we put out Zuvadis, like it did, like it hit #1 on the hotness, and then the Kickstarter was not nearly as good as Trailblazers before it, but it did all right. And then the sales were decent, but then Shut Up and Sit Down were like, hey, this is our favorite new negotiation game, and then sales just exploded, right?
And then Dice Tower also gave it incredibly high reviews.
Yeah, Dice Tower loved it too, and so it's like it's been an amazing seller for us ever since. Where it started, it started okay, but then it became something much more. So sometimes you get lucky. A smaller example being like Bebop, our jazz themed Kickstarter. Again, not one of our strongest Kickstarters, but we actually sold out of Bebop rather quickly, and part of it was a Polygon reviewer actually posted like their favorite games of the year so far, and then suddenly the sales picked up, and we're like, well, shoot, like we need to reprint this. So like, yeah, things like that. Sometimes you get lucky, right? And it helps to just continue to, if you're confident in the game that it's a solid game, keep sending it to people who you think will like it, to those reviewers and such, because you never know. The momentum can shift, but like you said, you can't bank on that, and you really can't have you can't force a game to be a success or an evergreen. And so you kind of just have to read the writing on the wall and surf the wave the best you can.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, all right. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, if you got more questions about marketing, like ask them in the comments, right? Like, I think that would be like awesome. We would love to hear from you if you have an idea for a future episode, from something that you'd like to hear two publishers really just deep dive in and just like getting real nerdy and in the weeds about. That's what we do here on The Bits. We're two board game publishers. Ask us questions about publishing board games, and we'll get as nerdy as we can about the one thing that you're talking about. But that's what we want to do on The Bits. I think it's really awesome. People, honestly, because we haven't really recorded through convention season, but all through convention season, man, so many people came up to me and were just like, man, I love The Bits. It's so good. I had one guy tell me, he's like, I'm trying to be a board game publisher. I listened to every episode 3 times. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Cool. I'm glad it's helpful. And like I've always said, these are just conversations that me and Nick kind of regularly have anyway. We just put microphones in front of our mouths and I cuss less. So
a little cleaner, a little more family friendly. Yeah. That's The Bits, baby. So yeah, thanks for tuning in again. And yeah, we're going to try to do another one relatively soon. But again, Essen's coming up. Things might happen, but we're still around. We're still going.
What? We're going to do one in October. We're going to do one in October before we go to Essen. We're going to make sure we do it.
Yes, let's do it. I'm in. So yes, thanks again. This is episode 6 of The Bits on marketing, and we are excited about our new projects. So go check those out, and maybe you'll learn some things or gain some insights from marketing. That's how we've made, anything that we've made good in a Kickstarter page. We've looked at what other publishers have done and kind of stolen ideas, and inspiration. So encourage you to do that, and we'll see you next time.
All right, cool. Thank you, guys.